Brandon, when do you expect the next round of cuts? Are they going to have to start coming more in bunches because it's still a pretty big roster?
Yeah, I don't see us making any moves here in the next couple of days. I think that they'll be maybe spread out over the next couple of weeks, but nothing, no cut date.
Rich, go ahead.
Hey, Brandon, have you spent much time contemplating how you might use Rio and Franco in the in the same lineup? Yeah,
I mean, being in the American League, you have the DH possibility also. So, we have Trey at first base that didn't play at all last year, and both those guys have a little bit of first base experience also. So there's some depth there. I'm going to be talking to Trey every single day and to see how he feels. But adding another corner guy that can play first base, I can see the times when all three of those guys can be in the lineup at one time, utilizing the DH.
Stan, go ahead.
Brandon, I was listening to a broadcast of a Tampa Bay game the other day, and the two announcers were talking about that the Rays think they may use between 30 and 35 pitchers this season. Have you thought ahead as to how many you think we'll actually see run through this year?
I think it's going to be a lot. I think it's one thing we've talked a lot about is to where the innings are going to come from, and depth in your organization is going to be vital this year to be able to have interchangeable starters, to be able to have guys that you can call up to make starts. Just because of last year and the lack of innings thrown, I don't think any of us have any idea what this year is going to look like from the pitching side. So that is something that we have talked a lot about, is how creating as much depth and from the rotation standpoint, as many long guys as possible, because I can see us using a lot of pitchers.
Dan, go ahead.
Hey, Brandon, this one's coming out of left field a little bit, but I'm following Stan, so I figured that's appropriate. Real quick question for you overall from one of our guys who's on the line right now, Jason Jenks. They're doing a story on Joey Votto and his unique personality. And apparently you and him used to kind of go back and forth, running dialogue and such from dugouts. Can you give us a sense of what that was like, and maybe the best lines that either you threw at him or he threw at you?
I'm a big Joey Votto fan. Coaching first base for those years in that division, obviously running into Joey 17, 18 times a year. Yeah, we would talk the entire game, every game, except after a bad at bat. But I'll give you one story. In those conversations, there would be about the game, our team, his team, politics, Canadian government, the difference between U.S. and Canada. It would just be a variety of topics. He is an incredibly interesting guy and really fun to talk to, and a special player. But I really enjoyed when we played Cincinnati, because it was going to be entertaining over there for 9 innings. But there was one time, I don't remember what year it was, I think 15 or 16. They weren't very good those years, and they had really good offense, but they just couldn't pitch. And Joey was off to a kind of a rough start, and he lined out, and then I ran to first base. And if he made an out, I didn't usually go over to him. I waited for him to call me over. He calls me over and says, Hyder, I am this close to being locked in. And I'm like, really? He was hitting like under 200 at the time and struggling. Well, he proceeded to go get on base 9 times in a row after that. I don't know exact numbers, but it was like homer, double, homer. So he calls me over again about 5 at-bats later, probably the next day, and said, I told you. He just knew his swing better than anybody. He was he was an artist playing first base. I mean, there was a guy. He was a guy that was incredibly intelligent and understood the swing better than anybody else. He would tell me when we had players come up, whatever, this guy's going to be a good player, this guy's not going to be a good player. He would evaluate our team. It was just a lot of fun to talk to.
Joe, go ahead.
Brandon, I apologize. I have a bit of a boring conventional question after that, but I wanted to follow up on Stan's topic about the pitching depth. How have you felt about the camps from guys like Eshelman and LeBlanc, and how are you evaluating those guys this spring, given all the innings you need to cover going forward?
Yeah, unfortunately, those guys haven't seen as much game action as I would have liked, and probably would have had on a normal year, just because of our pitching situation and the amount of people we wanted to see. You had 2 Rule 5 guys in. You have three young starting rotation candidates. You have Means and Lopez. There's a lot of people that we wanted to take a look at. They've thrown a lot of innings on, in inter squads or situational games back in the backfield to try to keep them sharp, to keep them ready. So I think that, I really like the way both those guys are throwing back there. They're both throwing the ball extremely well. They are important depth for us. And 2 guys that, Ash, the last couple of years, has done an amazing job in the roles that we put him in, for a guy that I think we claimed, and if not much or if any major league experience, and goes in the big leagues in the American League East and pitches with no fear, gobbles up innings for us. He's been huge. He's been a staff saver for us the last 2 years, and he's improving. I see a better breaking ball this year than I did last year. But those 2 guys are going to be extremely important, just because they can pitch, and they can pitch in a really tough division.
Nathan, go ahead.
Brandon, as you guys start trying to figure out roster spots and whatnot, is a 60-day IL stint a possibility for Chris Davis?
I think it could be a possibility.
Steve, go ahead.
Brandon, speaking of possibilities, Santander, Mancini, Mountcastle, 2, 3, 4. Is that something you're thinking about for the season, some combination of those 3, and what the potential they might be able to do for you?
Yeah, I flip-flopped Mancini and Santander today just to take a look. I do like to I'm trying to put the best 4 hitters at the top 4 spots from a lineup standpoint. Like the leadoff guy to get to be an on-base guy, and then 2, 3, 4 to be your best 3 hitters in no particular order. That's probably going to be a matchup situation. But yeah, I'm comfortable with all 3 of those guys hitting somewhere there in the middle.
Rich, go ahead.
Brandon, tomorrow you have Valdez starting, and you'd mentioned that you might want to do a bullpen game. Is it indeed going to be, a real bullpen game? And are the guys like Fry and Seltzer and Armstrong and Lakins gonna all pitch?
I don't have the exact bullpen in front of me for tomorrow, but it's going to be a bullpen game tomorrow.